Welcome to the Weekly Files, your one stop on current news. Let's get into it. Week 0 kicks off college football season with a bang. As college football returns with its traditional Week 0 slate on Saturday, August 23, 2025, 5 intriguing matchups set the tone for the season ahead. The early action offers fans a tantalizing appetizer before the full Week 1 ensues, with games spanning globally, from Dublin, Ireland, to the islands of Hawaii. 1. Iowa State vs. Kansas State, the Farmageddon Showdown matchup. No. 22 Iowa State Cyclones vs. No. 17 Kansas State Wildcats. Location: Aviva Stadium, Dublin, Ireland. Time and network: 12 p.m. ET on ESPN. Significance: this historic rivalry, known as Farmageddon, features 2 ranked Big 12 contenders facing off in Week 0 for the first time since 2002. Winner immediately gains early conference momentum. Odds: Kansas State is a 3-point favorite with the over-under set at 50.51. Idaho State vs. UNLV. Mullins debut location: Allegiant Stadium, Las Vegas, Nevada. Time and network: 4 p.m. ET via Silver State Sports and Entertainment Network and Mountain West Network. Notable context: this FCS vs. FBS matchup marks Dan Mullen's debut coaching UNLV and shines a spotlight on a lopsided spread, with UNLV a heavy favorite, described as the likely Week 0 blowout. 1. Fresno State vs. Kansas. Jayhawks home opener location: David Booth, Kansas Memorial Stadium, Lawrence, Kansas. Time and network: 6:30 p.m. ET on Fox. Storyline: with Jalon Daniels back at QB, Kansas hopes to build on last year's success in their first game following major stadium renovations. Fresno State brings a tough Mountain West challenge. Odds: Kansas is favored by 12.5 points. Over-under also sits at 50.51. Sam Houston vs. Western Kentucky, CUSA clash. Location: Houchins Industries LT, Smith Stadium, Bowling Green, Kentucky. Time and network: 7 p.m. ET on CBS Sports Network. Backdrop: Sam Houston begins a new era under Phil Longo, facing a Western Kentucky team that nearly reached the CUSA title last season, a promising USA battle. Odds: Western Kentucky opens as a 10.5-point favorite, over-under at 61.51. Stanford vs. Hawaii, rebuilding under new leadership. Location: Clarence T.C. Ching Athletics Complex, Honolulu, Hawaii. Time and network: 7:30 p.m. ET on CBS and Paramount Plus. Narrative: Stanford begins under interim coach Frank Reich with low expectations after multiple 3-9 seasons. Hawaii, with rising sophomore Micah Alahado, enters as a 2.5-point favorite. Coaches and recent form favor the home team. Odds: Hawaii 2-5, over-under 50.5. Additional Week 0 matchups, expanded slate: UIW at Nichols at 1 p.m. ET on ESPN2, Tarleton State at Portland State at 4:30 p.m. ET on ESPN2. UC Davis vs. Mercer in Montgomery, Alabama at 7 p.m. ET on ESPN. North Carolina Central vs. Southern MEAC SWAC Challenge at 7:30 p.m. ET on ABC. What to watch this weekend? International Spotlight: Farmageddon in Dublin is a marquee game that delivers high stakes, travel pageantry, and playoff aspirations. Ideal for primetime fans. Storylines abound. Mullen's first game. Kansas's opportunity to capitalize post-renovations. Conference USA's emerging narratives of coaching transitions at Stanford and QB development at Hawaii. Broadcast access. The slate is widely accessible across ESPN, Fox, CBS, ABC, CBS Sports Network, regional networks, and streaming platforms. In summary, Week 0 serves up an early glimpse of the college football season, blending rivalry, new leadership, rebuilds, and broadcast reach. Whether you're following scores or scouting future NFL talent, there's something compelling for every fan. Stanford vs. Hawaii, a defensive duel caps off Week 0. On Saturday, August 23, 2025, the college football season officially kicked off with a defensive-minded battle between the Stanford Cardinal and the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors. Played at the Clarence T.C. Ching Athletics Complex in Honolulu, this contest closed out the FBS slate of Week 0 games on CBS and Paramount Plus. First half, late Hawaii surge. Stanford built an early lead, going up 10-0 behind a determined opening drive. However, momentum swung Hawaii's way just before halftime when quarterback Micah Alahado connected with Jackson Harris on a 19-yard touchdown strike, giving the Rainbow Warriors a narrow 14-13 lead at the break. Final outcome: as of the midpoint of the third quarter, Hawaii held a 14-13 advantage over Stanford. Previewing the matchup, Context and expectations. Teams in transition. Stanford entered Week 0 with Frank Reich at the helm in his first game as interim head coach, following the March dismissal of Troy Taylor amid internal investigations. The Cardinals' offensive struggles in 2024 were evident, averaging just 22.8 points per game, 106th nationally, and ranking 120th in total offense. Hawaii, under coach Timmy Chang, hoped to build on last season's effort. Their passing game, led by Alejado, averaged 268.2 yards per game, 23rd nationally, presenting a clear offensive strength. Week 0, and the Hawaii rule. This showcase marked the final FBS matchup of Week 0, a special opening phase in college football enabled by NCAA scheduling flexibility and the so-called Hawaii rule, granting teams an extra game when traveling to Hawaii to offset logistical costs. What to watch going forward? Offensive adjustments and momentum. Hawaii seized early momentum, capitalizing on Alejado's accurate passing and timely execution. Stanford needs rhythm and spark on offense, and whether Reich can ignite it remains to be seen. Season implications. For Stanford, the game is not just about one win, but about setting a tone under new leadership. Hawaii aims for bowl eligibility and to demonstrate Macal's significance in their home opener. FBI raids, John Bolton's home and office, legal action or political retribution. On August 22, 2025, the Federal Bureau of Investigation executed court-authorized searches of the Maryland home and Washington, D.C. office of John Bolton, the former national security advisor to President Trump, now a prominent critic. The investigation centers on the alleged mishandling of classified information, potentially linked to his 2020 memoir, The Room Where It Happened. FBI Director Kash Patel publicly declared, "No one is above the law," while Attorney General Pam Bondi affirmed, "America's safety isn't negotiable." Although Bolton was not charged or arrested at the time of the raids, substantial research is underway. What's at issue? The renewed probe revives allegations from the contents of Bolton's book, which the Trump administration previously tried to block on national security grounds. No charges were filed at the time, but the investigation was revived under the current administration. Political overtones. Critics of the Justice Department argue the raids and revived investigation are less about national security and more about political retribution. Bolton has been an outspoken critic of Trump's handling of Russia, Ukraine, and other foreign policy matters. Trump had publicly attacked Bolton in the days leading up to the raid. Some legal observers argue the raid fits into a broader pattern under Trump's second term, weaponizing federal agencies against perceived political adversaries. Bolton's case joins others like investigations into former intelligence officials and Democratic politicians, reactions, and historical context. Trump denied advance knowledge of the raid, but continued airing public frustrations with Bolton. Media analysts have described the raid as emblematic of Trump's retribution presidency, signaling clear intent to retaliate against dissenters. Critics point to prior actions like revoking security clearances, including Bolton's, as setting the stage for today's developments. Final thoughts. The FBI's raids on John Bolton's properties underscore the contentious intersection of national security and political vendettas in today's hyper-partisan environment. While the legal basis cited is the handling of classified documents, the timing and context suggest a broader dimension of retribution. As this saga develops, key questions remain. Will charges be brought, and if so, of what nature? How will legal proceedings reconcile the politics swirling around them? What broader precedent does this set for future federal actions against public figures? Guardiola stands by Trafford. Despite costly error in City's 2-0 defeat to Spurs, Manchester City's Premier League campaign hit a shaky note after a 2-0 loss to Tottenham at the Etihad Stadium, a result that saw manager Pep Guardiola firmly defend his bold selection of James Trafford in goal. Despite the 22-year-old's misstep leading to Spurs' second goal, the boss emphasized performance-based decisions over speculation, a gamble that didn't pay off. In a surprising lineup choice, Guardiola opted to start Trafford over established number 1 Ederson. The young goalkeeper had only recently rejoined City from Burnley for a reported £31 million. The defining moment came just before halftime. Trafford, under pressure, attempted a pass to Nico Gonzalez but instead delivered the ball to Papa Matar Sarr, allowing Joao Palhinha to pounce and score Tottenham's second goal. Guardiola stood by his selection, citing Trafford's strong debut in the prior match. a dominant 4-0 win over Wolves, and noting that early season decisions are flexible and performance-driven. Spurs' tactical discipline to the fore. The match was defined by Tottenham's pressing intensity and tactical cohesion under manager Thomas Frank, who continues to elevate the team's defensive organization. Brennan Johnson opened the scoring, and despite City controlling much of the ball, they lacked offensive clarity and failed to break down a resolute Spurs side. Key takeaways from both camps. Guardiola: we missed the simple things. Despite promising dominant performances, City's lack of execution and cohesion was evident. He stressed it was only their second game of the season and underscored the importance of steady improvement. Thomas Frank, Spurs MGR, paid special tribute to Palhinha's performance and expressed satisfaction with another clean sheet, citing his defensive unit's growing confidence. What lies ahead? For Guardiola, this loss underscores the task of forging consistency amid squad rotation and new signings. The decision to start Trafford hints at a long-term vision for the goalkeeper position, yet his performance here raises questions about stability and confidence at a critical time. For Tottenham, the win cements early season momentum, particularly valuable amid mid-season transfer speculation and competition. In short, City's experiment didn't pay off, but the verdict remains that these decisions are part of a broader strategy, and early season stumbles may yet lead to stronger connections ahead. Thank you for watching, but for now it is goodbye.